Going live in 3, 2, 1.
What is up, guys? We've got PlayStation and Xbox specs. We also got some of the latest and greatest when it comes to mobile gaming. And we also got some of the latest tweets and Instagram posts.
And also adding on to this entire thing, the sports game decline. Why is all of the sports games that's coming out so terrible? Are you guys ready? Platform Gamer Podcast starts right now. What is going on, everybody? This is your boy Desmond Dukes, my awesome co-host DeMar Dukes right here on this side.
What's going on, people? What's going on?
This is something that everybody's been waiting for the duo to start up.
Absolutely. This is definitely a long time coming. This is episode 1 of Platform Gamer Podcast, and we definitely thank you guys for joining us. Absolutely phenomenal show. You guys are going to be in for a treat. Trust me, we got some good stuff. We got a lot of cool information to share with you guys, and Desmond also has some of his latest updates as well as his personal take on some of the latest in some of the gaming sports realm.
Yep. So we'll make sure that you guys, if you are watching on YouTube right now, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn on that bell for all notifications, and make sure you leave us a like and leave a comment, because we love comments right here on Platform Gamer Podcast. And speaking of likes, make sure you like us on Facebook and join an ever-growing community of people where you can get the latest information on all of that. And speaking of following, you can also reach us at Platform Gamer P1 on Instagram and Twitter.
Absolutely. Definitely make sure to follow us on there. We're going to put all the latest information up on there, share some of our thoughts in real time as well, just so you guys can stay up on what our thoughts are with some of the latest information that comes out from companies such as Sony and also, of course, naturally, Microsoft.
Yep. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing, man. Why not?
Absolutely. So when it comes to the specs, as far as what we're looking at for the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox. Now, just so we get some things clear, both the Xbox and the Sony PlayStation 5 are both utilizing GPU processors. Now, some people, for those of you who might not be very tech savvy, just to keep in mind, a GPU is a different kind of hardware, but it is not a graphics card. Okay, a GPU is just your graphics processing unit. Okay, so let's just keep in mind as far as for that. Now, for some people who might be wondering why the Xbox, why the Microsoft, as well as why PlayStation doesn't use the physical graphics card. Well, there are a few reasons why. One of those reasons happens to be just the fact that, number one, the systems, given the current structure of how they're built, really don't have the space to be able to support a full-on graphics card. Not to mention the fact it doesn't really support the necessary cooling agents to be able to handle the amount of heat that graphics card will produce while you're gaming. Not to mention the fact GPUs also happen to be a little bit more cost efficient. So that's another reason why a lot of these, more than likely going forward, are going to be used in some of other future consoles as far as for that. Now, another thing I also want to take into consideration as well is the fact that some of these are now utilizing simultaneous multi-threading, or SMT. Now, this is no different than hyper-threading, HT, that they use in some of the Intel graphics chips that most people see in the latest computers nowadays. Now, there really isn't a difference. They're pretty much the same thing, but basically what these are is it pretty much creates virtual cores. So basically, let's say, for example, if your console utilizes has 4 cores to it. Well, with those virtual cores that are added, now you have 8, and this is what the motherboard is reading. So basically, you have more information going in and going out at the same time as far as for that. Now, just so we're also clear, even though you have 8 cores, specifically speaking, it's still not as powerful as actually having 8 physical cores as opposed to 4 actual cores and 4 virtuals. So those are some things to also keep in mind as far as for that. Let's see. Also, not to mention the fact, as far as when we're looking at the processors, pretty much for the most part, I think it's a safe bet to say that every gaming system coming out going forward is more likely going to be by AMD. Pretty much, yeah, definitely. The 2 biggest hard hitters when it comes to anything dealing with graphics or anything like that is going to be AMD and, of course, NVIDIA.
Now, my thing is, especially with AMD, AMD is one that's been used in the PlayStation 3. It was also used in that one. And then the Xbox One. They actually used, I thought they used NVIDIA. Did they use NVIDIA for the original, or not the original Xbox, the Xbox One? I almost want to say they did.
I think they did. I know the NVIDIA GPU was used in the Nintendo Switch. I know that much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, that's interesting. And both these consoles can do frame rates of up to 120 frames per second. So when you look at it from that perspective, you're thinking, 60 frames already looks good. And, 120 frames is even better. But you got to keep in mind, though, the higher that you ramp up, whether it's 4K, because we know that the PlayStation 5 does support 8K, or is supposed to support 8K. I'm not sure. I think the Xbox does too as well, up to 8K. So you can't do 8K at 120 frames a second because that's just going to push the power of the consoles too hard. So I think what happens there is that a lot of the GPU and the processors and stuff kind of balances things out. So yeah, you're going to get that 8K frame or that 8K visual performance of eye candy, but at the same time, it's going to take your performance back a little bit. So you won't be able to do 120 frames right out the gate. It may drop down to 60. It may even drop down to as low as 30, but nevertheless, you'll still get that solid frame rate. It just may not be, to the top of the max. And then 2, you look at both consoles, very, very different. Xbox Series X is shaped more like a computer tower. So, which I thought that was an ingenious idea because you're able to fit more into it and to be able to design it, especially the cooling system. And I do believe the cooling system is actually on the top, pushing it up. So that's pretty cool as opposed to, being behind. Because I know with the my PlayStation 4 Pro is like inside, but what it does is that the fan shoots it down and then pushes it out. So it's like a down thing, then it goes through this little entryway before it shoots it out of the console. And I think with it just having the fan shooting it straight up, it's going to pull all that heat up, and it'll really help keep the Series X from overheating. And the PlayStation 5, I'm not quite for sure. I want to say a lot of the fans, especially in between the white and the black, those little edges, I believe that's where the fans are going to be kicking in. Now, I want to say those will also be pointed down. So it's going to point down and then push out. So hopefully the cooling system that they have in the PS5 will be able to handle what the performance of what it needs.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with everything that you just said. Absolutely. Now, another thing too, given to where the vents are ported on there, as you guys already know, when it comes to having the proper cooling ports, this is going to be extremely important because with everyone being at home, of course, naturally, there's all that static electricity is going to pull in a lot of that dust. So it's actually really, really helpful to have a really powerful cooling fan on that, because without something that can kind of help the system breathe a little bit more, it's definitely going to lead to more hardware issues in the long run. So I think Sony as well as Microsoft definitely kept that in mind when they were coming out with these particular designs. Now, of course, as far as for the design wise, it's kind of 50-50. There's definitely a little bit of mixed reactions when it comes to the design of the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox
Oh
Series
God,
X.
the memes for the PS5 were pretty hilarious.
I've seen
I
some
have
of
to
those.
say, and I'm a Sony fan. Now you would think I would get pissed about that, like, oh, they making memes. This is crazy. No, but they were actually pretty funny. Like I seen one where they had the PS5 and it had a mouth and some eyes on it, and it's pretty funny. Now both companies are actually going to have two versions of their consoles. Now, for the Series X, they have Lockhart, which Lockhart is more than likely going to be the cheaper one, but you're not going to get everything that the Series X is going to have.
Right.
They're gonna cut back on some things, but it'll still be able to perform all of the games and stuff the way you want it. But with it just being a digital version, it doesn't have to really utilize so many of those parts. Now, the PlayStation has their digital version, and I want to say that all of theirs will be intact, but that remains to be seen, as neither company still to this day have not released any prices whatsoever. But I'm shooting for Series X and PS5 going about 500, 550 at the most. But I'm gonna say 500, and Lockhart I would probably say 3. I'll probably say 300 for the Lockhart, and then the digital version of PlayStation I would probably say 4. Those are just my predictions, my guesses. So
right,
but when it comes to the power, the Xbox Series X technically from the spec standpoint is actually more powerful than the PlayStation 5. Some people may disagree, but facts are facts. So I think that's one thing to consider, especially if you're looking for what kind of console you want to get. And then most people are like, we just want the games. We don't care about all the specs. Well, you might want to understand the specs so that way when you go into buying these games, you'll have a better grasp of, well, if this game's going to, what's the difference between me getting this game on let's say my PlayStation 5 versus me getting it on my PC, my home built PC, which is like ridiculously powerful,
Right.
So I think what's going to be the selling point for both of these consoles, when it comes to the specs, is what exclusive games they can bring out that will fully support and fully utilize the specs that both of these consoles are bringing to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that. The titles, the launch titles, will definitely be the determining factor as far as what people are going to gravitate to, whether it's going to be the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. Now, another thing too that people have to take into consideration also is the fact of when these games come out, not a lot of these games are going to be able to utilize all of what the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to pump out. Just like what you were saying earlier, and just to add some extra validity to what Desmond was saying earlier, yes, both of these consoles will support 4K. And now the thing about it is, not every game is going to be able to utilize that. Not to mention that not every game is going to be able to push up those 60 frames per second like you can easily get and clock in on a powerful gaming PC. Let's say, for example.
Oh, God, sorry.
Oh yeah, let's say for example with like Forza. Forza is a massive detailed game. Not to mention Gran Turismo is going to be coming out soon. So when you think about those kinds of games that have an incredible amount of detail, that there are definitely going to be some fluctuations when it comes to the frame rate with the Xbox versus the PlayStation. Since Microsoft, they've been in the PC game a lot longer. They know what they're doing. Sony, they've been strictly mostly doing a lot of they've done stuff like obviously the PlayStation and everything else, but they've done like the Walkman and everything else. They've done some technology stuff, but definitely not on the grand scale of Microsoft, not even close. So I think when you look at that, I think games are definitely going to run a lot smoother on the Xbox Series X, as far as from what I can tell. But once we get later into the future titles going into 2021, I think that's when we're really going to start to see the real power being utilized once these game developers get a better understanding and grasp of the technology that they're going to be able to have at their fingertips. Go ahead, Des.
And that's my thing too, is like, let's take Gran Turismo, for example, because I know they're going to utilize its full potential with that. But I don't see it happening. I think that's the only thing that I disagree with you on. I think with something like Gran Turismo and Forza maybe, but 2021, I'm going 2022. The only reason why I say that is because they're going to be testing out some stuff and making sure that, they get the games where they want to be. And I think just doing it within a year's time, especially if you're shooting for like the spring, I just don't think it'll get there yet. So I'm thinking 2022 at the earliest, we'll really start seeing the power being pushed out of these consoles. So, like I said, Gran Turismo 7, I can see that coming out, and it probably won't even be 2022. We probably won't even see that game until 2023. So, it just varies. But I do agree with you on the fact that it is going to take time, because a lot of people are thinking, brand new consoles, it's got to come out the gate with like the biggest graphics. And no, it's not going to do that. No console on the history of this planet has done that. It took a while before they really were able to utilize just how much power these consoles can use. If they had development kits, earlier in time, that they knew, okay, we're working on the stuff for the console and here's the development kit, go ahead and have at it. It still would take them a year plus to get it where they want it to be. That's why, even though we saw the demo spec video from Epic Games about the Unreal Engine 5, which I am super excited for that engine.
Yes.
That still wasn't the game's full potential. That was just, that's looking at it at probably, I want to say, around 70%. So, and that's just a little demo. And to do something like that for a full game, you gotta be able to put in the time. So I believe that 2022 is the earliest we'll start seeing like the true potential of what these games could be. I mean, take example of The Last of Us Part 2. Graphically, that is the best looking game, and it's already getting close to the end of the PS4's life cycle that we're really seeing that. So it's just one of those things that's just going to take time, but I do feel that it is coming for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then adding on to your point as far as, that it's definitely going to take some time. And then it's like, what kind of time frame are we looking at when it comes to release of some of these games? Are every game going to take about a year, 2 years down the road? Are games going to be able to be made faster once they get a better handle on it? When it comes to the player interface, I know Sony was talking about they really want to push the VR games this time. So they're probably going to be a little bit more VR heavy going with the PS5. So what kind of expectations are we going to be expecting as far as for that? And let's face it, programming for VR is definitely a lot more technical than it would be for just doing the standard through the console. So there's definitely going to be some stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think specs wise for these consoles, we're still going to be in for a treat. I mean, we're going to get like some really, really awesome looking games, and the specs are proving that. Now, there's going to be times where the PlayStation 5 may have games that will outperform some games on the Xbox Series X, even though from a technical standpoint, the Xbox Series X will have better looking specs, and the performance wise is a lot better. But we'll see how things go along down the line. But I think both consoles are going to definitely give us that true next gen feel somewhere in the long run.
Absolutely, totally agree.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. I hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing so far. And again, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and you can get more content like that. I do have to say, though, I apologize for us taking so long. It was just mainly trying to work out some of the bugs and getting the timing down because, you know, with him being in California and me here in Michigan, it's kind of hard to get our times down, especially with both of us working two jobs.
Yeah,
but you know,
incredibly
we
hard.
want to get the content out to you guys, and that's our main focus as far as that goes right now. So definitely looking for more videos coming from us, and you know, there's a lot of different lots of information out there that, you know, we'll post on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, so that way you guys can still keep up with what's going on. And yeah, just a lot of good stuff. So we're going to move on here to a subject that really, really needs to be discussed. And we're talking about sports games. Now, the sports games of old, when they first started coming out, have really started to get better. I mean, you went from games like Tecmo Bowl and John Madden and, you know, like Jordan versus Bird, you know, those kinds of games. And then seeing the evolution going into, you know, like the Madden whatevers to, you know, even the NCAA games, the golf games, the basketball games, the wrestling games, all of these games, you know, when they're first coming out, like developers and publishers were really trying to really get those things and be innovative and creative and give cool features and make the games look great. But these last, I want to say 5 years, these last 5 years plus, we'll say 7. We'll just say 7 years. These last 7 years, sports games have really taken a nosedive, and a lot of it has to do with you don't really only have 2K and EA. You have both of those companies, and then, you know, you may get like Codemasters may do something or whatever, but you know, when it comes to the actual franchises of these sports leagues, you know, they're the only two, and they have no competition, not even really with themselves, because 2K has no football games at all. You know, both of them have eliminated the NCAA games, so you're not even getting like the college games. You're just getting a lot of the pro ones, and it's really been apparent, especially with this last WWE 2K20, which across the board got negative reviews. And I think it has to do with complacency. A lot of these companies are super complacent now with just giving us, it's just enough, you know, just enough. And if you've noticed, especially with a lot of these games, you really don't get the gameplay until right around the time of the game's release or after, if at all. That was my biggest issue with the WWE games, especially with 18, 19, and 20, because you've got all this, like you had pictures and clips and different things of like their intros and how the character models look, but you never got to see the actual gameplay until after the game's release. And I believe that was purposely done because they didn't want people to think that, oh, you know, we did a half-butt project that we just threw out to you guys. They treated them like cash grabs. That's really the ultimate thing. They were nothing more than cash grabs. Madden has become a cash grab. NBA Live has become a cash grab. WWE's been cash grabs. There's no innovation, and you're basically getting the same game every year. I never ever buy sports games the year after the last one because there's no difference to them whatsoever. Not graphically, not sound-wise, nothing. Everything's the exact same. The only difference is the rosters, but you can do that on an update. So you really don't need to make a whole new game out of it. So I usually like to buy a game every 3 years, 2 to 3 years, I'll buy a new one. Right now I have FIFA 19, I have WWE 2K19, and I just got NBA 2K20, which was free on my PlayStation Plus. But I won't buy another one of those games until like 2 or 3 years down the line, even though they're going to come out on the new consoles, I'm still going to wait because they haven't really shown me any reason to purchase them. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything you said. And that does actually open up a huge sense of concern when it comes to that, because now with us soon going into the next generation of console gaming, the thing about it is, what are we going to be able to expect from these particular developers? Now, granted, they're going to be working with more power. They're going to be working with more advanced system, better AI. But at the end of the day, how much of that are they actually going to utilize? How much creativity are going to put into the games? I mean, most of the time with a lot of games nowadays, most companies are making their money from DLCs. It's all about the downloads now. And when it comes to that, it's like, okay, but the thing about it is, it's like, it's not all about the skins and the outfits and, you know, whatever, whatnot. We want something that improves the gameplay. But the one thing that I've noticed from a lot of games is as more updates for so many of these patches and bug fixes, it seems like the gameplay starts to get worse. It gets buggy, it gets even more glitchy. And then on top of that, one thing that I know a lot of people were concerned about on social media was, are people going to be using these cheat tactics when it comes to these games? Like, for example, like for Destiny and such, are the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, do they have special security protocols so it will reduce the amount of people trying to hack games and try to use cheat programs and lag switches and things of that nature? How likely are those going to be? How less likely is that going to be prevalent in these games? So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Man, and what probably pisses me off the most, especially with these sports games, is the fact that when you want to create, you know, like create a character or create a team or whatever, you're so limited to what you can do. Like, they try to open it up, but it's really not as open as you want it to be. And then a lot of like the character, like the face models that they use for their templates that you can pick from are the exact same ones from the year before and the year before that. It's like there's no innovation. And the commentary, it's not as bad on NBA 2K, but like WWE and Madden, their commentary is basically a lot of the same stuff that they said the previous year. Like, there's nothing new other than them saying a new roster character's name or something like that. You know, create more customization parts. Have my name in the game. I can never get my name in the game. So I think like name utilization, they can add on to that instead of using just the typical names and then that's it. You know, so there's so much work that needs to be done, especially on a gameplay standpoint. Like, a lot of people for the Madden games, you know, they want more in-depth gameplay. They want it to feel more real. I've seen some video clips of some from a couple of YouTubers that will play, you know, that will play the game, and then you go through it. And then you see all the bugginess. You see like characters get hit, but they kind of flop around like dead bodies and the ball's on the ground and you're thinking it's a fumble. You're trying to pick it up, can't even pick it up. I mean, it's just little things like that. That's like, you guys have done this for how long? And you're still making the exact same mistakes you made the year before that, the year before that, and the year before that. I think they really, really need to go back to the drawing board and just really take in what the consumer is asking for. You know, a lot of them have started recently, you know, going on, you know, Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff and asking people, hey, what do you want to see in this game? And what is kind of a double-edged sword is that, yeah, they'll give you what you want, but when they give it to you, it's going to be like a half-butt job. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not really putting forth the full effort that it would require to really ramp it up and really make it something special. And I think that's what's really lacking in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you on that. And so at this stage of the game, like you said earlier, the fact that these developers, they've been in the game for a long time now, no pun intended. But the thing about it is, once we start entering into these new next generational consoles, can we as gamers and as fans of some of these major franchises, are we finally in the realm where we can truly say, okay, at this stage of the game, with the amount of power you guys have to work with, are you in the realm of saying you have no more excuses now?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's no excuses. I mean, you just because you don't have much as far as competitor wise, you still need to push the envelope, because ultimately you can make your fans your competitor. And the reason why I say it like that, because if you look at it from this perspective, fans of these games expect more. If they had the ability to make the game they wanted to make, and they can make it better, they probably could. But the reason being is that, some of them may not have the technical prowess or whatever to be able to do it. But your fans are your biggest contributors. They're your biggest assets. They're also your biggest competitors because of the criticism that they bring to the table. That criticism can be felt, especially when you get enough people feeling it. It's like, okay, you guys don't want to incite change. We'll make you change. And that's a testament to the fans, especially if it's, a legitimate concern that's going into certain aspects of a game, especially gameplay. You can have the greatest graphics in the world, but if your game plays like crap, it sucks. I'm not going to play it.
I totally agree. Can't argue that in the slightest. Cannot argue that in the slightest. And plus, on top of that, it's like when you really think about the overall formula for how sports games are put together, I think the best course of action going into the next gen is for them to just rebuild the franchise from the ground up, or for the most part, I'd say just start a whole new franchise altogether. I think they need to just throw away the old book. The old stuff's not working. I mean, you if anyone happens to be real analytical when it comes to the sales each year, sports game sales haven't exactly been very consistent from year to year. So that's another thing too that they should also be taking in consideration, the fact that their sales are nowhere near where they used to be. And so because of that, I think they should absolutely, definitely just rebuild the game from the ground up. And also with all the different kinds of technologies that are being used, I know there's going to be more motion captions being used. I know there's going to be more specialized lighting effects. I know there's going to be special programs with bit rendering and everything else. They really need to really focus on, especially with sports games, given the fact that it's specifically made to be competitive gameplay, especially in multiplayer. So when you're looking at it from that aspect, they really need to get that multiplayer aspect on. It's got to be solid. It's definitely got to be solid. But that's another thing too, is the fact of, I think they also are going to need to improve their gaming servers as well. That's another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration, is the servers that they're using when they're launching these games on a multi-platform. So I think they definitely need to make a lot of different changes going forward, and just totally throwing the old formula out.
Yeah, and that old formula is just not going to work. People have wisened up. People have gotten smarter. Your fans have gotten smarter. The consumer has gotten smarter. So I really think that they need to look at the situation as far as, hey, what can we do for right now? They're doing pre-orders for Madden 21, and you see some of the stuff, like you'll see like some of the intricacies of what they have going on. It's like some of the new features that they're adding on. But again, you can give me all the great new features you want. If the game don't play good, the game don't play good. So
exactly.
I can't pre-order a game where the last 3 or 4 games that I've either checked out or have played or have owned or whatever, and all of those were terrible. So why would I go and just jump at the notion? Back in the day, I'm just throwing this out there. Sorry to cut myself short like that, but I'm going to take this for example. Years ago, when the Madden games would come out, especially like the night before they're released, they would normally get lines of people. You remember that?
Oh
They would
yeah,
get
totally remember
lines
that.
and lines of people for a Madden game. Like certain stores would even like reopen at midnight just so they could sell that game.
Yep.
You think they do that now? No, no one cares. They will wait, and hopefully if there's a demo drop, they'll play a demo. But for the most part, they're not, you're not seeing those lines of people you used to see anymore. You're not seeing that excitement and that anticipation anymore. You're not seeing it because people have been burned so much from these games. They're just like, why do I care?
Right.
You know? And the golf games haven't really taken that much of a decline, but you can see that each game looks like the last. So you're not seeing innovation. Now, what I would love to see, certain games utilize new engines. And I think that's the issue too, is that a lot of these sports games basically use this, like you said, the same formula, the same sports engine that they've been using. The crowds on the FIFA games at the last 4 or 5 years have looked god awful. They look terrible. It's like and then you look at something like NBA. I'll take, for example, NBA 2K18. Okay. The crowd looks all right. It's not bad. It could be better. But one of the things that I love about that game, that as far as the crowd goes, is that if there's a blowout, like a team is getting beat by like 20, 30 points with like 5 minutes left in the game, and there's like no hope for them to come back, you'll start to see the crowd leave, and then the crowd will get diminished. You won't really notice it because you're too busy playing. But when you take a moment to look up at the crowd, you can see that there's less and less people, and it gets quieter and quieter. And, something like that, that's that small sense of detail that I like to see in a lot of these games, man. And FIFA, I mean, there's their crowds, man, like they'll have flags waving, but it's like nobody's holding the flag. It's just waving on its own with the pole sticking out of it. And their crowds have been absolutely awful. And I think they really need to look at that and really bring that lifelike mentality to the crowds. And I think that will overall help the atmosphere of the game. And number two, really give it that realistic simulated feel. And that's what's been missing in some of those games. It's the same thing with the golf ones. You'll see like a Tiger Woods game or something like that. They could come out with an Arnold Palmer game for all I care. But when you see those games, it's like I see the crowd, but they don't look impressive. And now, granted, they're just the backdrop for the main part of the game, but make them feel like a main part of the game. Make them feel like, make the game feel more special with them in the audience. And you're like, man, that crowd looks really good. It makes me feel like I'm in a real game. That's the kind of things that needs to be, taken into account with these games.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The crowd definitely needs to be greatly improved as far as for that.
Oh man.
Because the crowd, it does give, like you said, that lifelike feel. It makes you feel more emotionally invested. I mean, how awesome would it feel when you're playing against someone else in, let's say, NBA 2K20, and you're up against the opposing team, and it's just going back and forth. One person scores, the next person scores. There's like a 5-point difference, and there's like 30 seconds left in the game, and the crowd is just on fire, and you can just hear them just rooting for your team. You can't tell me that people don't just get that extra boost of energy when it's like, okay, I gotta do this, gotta get it in.
Exactly. That's that feeling. That's that atmosphere that we're talking about. That's what needs to be done in these games. When you have games that are so close and so on the line, it's like, I gotta win. I gotta win. I got to beat these guys. And it makes the game so. And then the commentary too. The commentary plays a huge factor, because when the commentary gets into it, you're really into it, because they're telling that story of getting you invested in what you're doing on that screen. And that was one of the things that I could not stand about FIFA, even to this day. That's the one thing that FIFA, besides the crowd, is really lacking, is their commentary. It's okay to have, some, like one type of commentary person doing it, but the problem is they don't get that excited. They could be, here's the ball. There you are. He has the ball now. Neymar goes for the shot, and it looks good. Good goal by It's like now when you what's the difference between watching it like a FIFA game, in let's say in the UK versus watching a FIFA game or something like that from the United States, portion, like on Fox or something like that. Fox's commentary team, they bring it. I mean, they get you excited because they're all into it. They're getting louder. The crowd's getting all crazy. It's like, that is phenomenal. And I think if you want to keep that type of commentary from the UK side, you can. Absolutely, you can, because that's what people are used to. But give us more commentary options. I think that would be one thing that would really help, especially with the FIFA games. Give me commentary options. If I want an American commentary team, or I want a UK commentary team, or a Mexican commentary team, you've got different. FIFA is a world game. Why not have world commentators?
That'd be a good idea. I'd like to see that.
Now I'm trying to look up the sales for the Madden for Madden 20, and because I'm really curious as to how well they did, because I don't think their sales were that high.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think their pre-orders were actually pretty low, even when they were starting to make their release.
Unit sales. But yeah, it's like it's crazy how these games just don't really measure up like they're supposed to. They don't measure up to what, as us the consumers, they're not giving us the reason to want to buy those games. Like, I gotta have that game. They just have not had that for me in quite some time.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely been a major decline when it comes to their game releases and such like that. And I think this is just a change of the times too. The fact that when you look at the overall grand scheme of things, now obviously when it comes to the next series of games that come out for sports games, obviously with the type of things that they can do, I think they're definitely going to utilize more VR gameplay when it comes to that. I think that would be a real interesting aspect as far as playing sports games in VR as opposed to just standard console.
Right.
That's definitely something they should definitely explore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would definitely bring a little more intensity, a little bit more. I think it would increase the play value when it comes to that. Another thing that they could also try to utilize too is actual sensor. If they decide to go in the VR realm, is to allow people to be able to physically talk to the other players. Mm-hmm. I think that would be great too, as far as for single campaign, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously the AI is going to be a lot better, a lot smarter. Why not be able to actually physically tell your team, hey, pass, or mm-hmm. take the shot or whatever, I think those kind of things would be cool. I think that in the overall grand scheme of things, I want to say that I think sports games are definitely going to take a turn for the good once these next gen consoles come out. With the amount of power, like I said, with the amount of power, the amount of space that they'll be able to utilize when it comes to these games, because obviously the games are going to be bigger, a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think another thing that they really need to do is they need to try not to rely too much on so many of these updates and patches. If they can produce a game like back in the old days when you had everything you needed in the game was loaded right then and there, you were good to go. Very rarely did you have any glitches or anything like that because everything was loaded, you mm-hmm. know. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So apparently they sold over 100 million copies. Now, my question is, how many of those copies went back? That's my question. Anyway, I mean, what do you guys think out there as far as like the sports games decline? Do you think sports games have really declined, or are they just kind of taking a back seat and then they're going to come back stronger? I don't know. Let us know what you guys think about that. dealing with the what we feel is the decline of sports games. All right, Damar, you want to lead us into this next segment?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys, here we go. Here we go. So, next thing we're going to move on to is going to be mobile games. Okay, so I know a lot of you guys are big onto the mobile games. There's been quite a lot of mobile games that have been out as of late. I know some popular titles that have been out has been some of the ones like Fate. Others is going to be Bang Dream Girls Band Party. We also have, let's see if I can pull it up here. Oh yeah, of course, naturally Fortnite, Call of Duty. We also have Clash Royale. We've got Monument Valley. That one was actually an interesting one. I tried that out a few times. That one's pretty good.
Yeah, there's League of Legends.
Yep.
Yeah, this mobile gaming has really become, especially here in the United States and in parts of overseas, they have really become a very, very profitable market. I mean, it's mobile gaming has really been impressive. And a lot of people have noticed, like, some games, I mean, some of them aren't going to be like super graphically detailed, but they don't need to. And one thing that I've noticed, especially with mobile gaming, is the gameplay immersion of it. You can play, you could play something like Bejeweled and challenge someone that's in your little group. You can get the high score, and then you're like, okay, try and beat that. So then you'll send out a challenge to that person, and then they'll find time when they get a chance. They'll try and beat your score. So it's a lot of that going on, and people just doing a lot of mobile gaming because when you're on the go, you can't exactly take a console with you. And really, other than handhelds, Nintendo has really been the only strong, one that's going with, at the time, even with the Game Boy still does well. It still does well to this day. Not as well as they used to, but I mean, we've kind of seen like how the PSP and the Game Gear and, the PlayStation Vita all kind of go to the wayside. But Nintendo, I don't know what it is about Nintendo handhelds and how they do, but man, comparable to like mobile gaming on like your Samsung phone, your iPhones and all of that stuff. I mean, it's a testament to these, and it's a lot of independent companies that are getting out there making these games, for mobile use. I mean, they made a Call of Duty for your phone. I mean, my first thought is like, how is that even possible? But they find ways to do it, man. And mobile gaming has just been a really big focus for a lot of these developers and gaming companies now. Like they'll still do like the console and the PC stuff, that's their mainstay. But if they want to get something kind of quick and out there that they know is going to be fun, that they still, put in some good effort into it, and something that can go to the masses quicker than any console or PC could ever do, you're going to look at mobile gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is, it's like with the way mobile games have definitely evolved over the years, because I mean, man, I still remember back when some of the only mobile games you had was like they had like the card games, Casino Royale, stuff like that.
Solitaire, Minesweeper.
It's like they had very, very few mobile games that really could get you to want to invest your time in. But now it's like they've got, they got special simulated shooters. They have one to build building sims. Those have been great. Ones that revolve around bridges. Some are going to be flight sims. A lot of people love the flight sims. A lot of people, especially as far as myself personally, music rhythm-based games. Love them to death. And as a matter of fact, there's actually a music rhythm-based game that's going to be coming out soon called D4 DJ Groovy Mix. That one I am absolutely looking forward to. It's kind of almost in the realm of a title I mentioned earlier, Bang Dream Girls Band Party, and also Love Live. It's similar to almost like that, but it's like the music is just beautiful, well done. They actually have a couple snippets of photos of some of the gameplay on some of the songs. Now, of course, right now, I believe the app is out, but you can only get it from Japan. It's only available in Japan. So I
Okay.
tried my hardest to try to download on my phone, but I can't because it's not available on my region.
It's not gonna let you.
No. But they definitely have some really beautiful music on there. There's actually one music video that they put out to kind of help promote the game by Photon Maiden, which is one of the groups that's in the game. Definitely recommend you guys check that out on YouTube. It's beautiful, well done. The music, the way they have the girls made out, the choreography of the girls, it just looked very beautiful. The song was great. If some of you guys are into like anime, if you're into just J-pop and that kind of stuff, I think you guys would definitely enjoy that game. Absolutely, no question.
So I'm looking
No,
on GameIndustry.biz, and this is a report by Craig Chappell. And he says here, in 2019 was another stellar year for mobile gaming revenue. Senior Tower estimates show that worldwide spending in games grew 12.8% across the Apple Store and Google Play Store. They went from the previous year of 2018, $54.7 billion to a whopping $61.7 billion in 2019. And 2020 is just gonna, I mean, right now they're saying approximately by the end of 2020, they're looking at 83.5 billion estimated. Those are huge numbers for mobile
extremely big
gaming.
number. Extremely big numbers. Yes, yes. That just shows the power of mobile games. And plus, another thing that I really like about the trend and just the overall formula of how things have been transitioning in the mobile gaming world is the fact of it's giving indie gamers, first time game developers, it's giving them a chance to really get their brand out. And I think that's
I
another thing
agree.
that's definitely going to be a huge opportunity for a person to really get their work out, get their business off the ground. Mobile games is definitely a great way to start a business, especially if you're into creating games.
And mobile gaming, like you said, is a great starting point because you look at all these other industries and they're going to notice it. Because if you notice on certain games, they've transferred over to consoles, which is a true testament to how good those games are. I wouldn't be surprised later on down the line if League of Legends or something like that, or even Candy Crush or something like that, makes its way onto consoles. I mean, I can see if Sony or Microsoft decided, especially Microsoft, I can kind of see Microsoft doing it too. If Microsoft and them came out, tried their hand one last time in the handheld market, I think if they incorporated a lot of the mobile games, like some type of app where you can get like a library, a huge library of mobile games. So if your phone goes dead or whatever, you can like, I'll just play it on this, And I think that would probably work out for them. I think it should be directed more towards those instead of trying to get what was on a console and then throwing it, onto like a handheld. Like you could take the PlayStation Vita, for example. If they had utilized more of the mobile gaming market, especially when mobile games were just starting to get hot, I think they might have had a little more staying power versus them trying to do their own thing. And then a lot of the mobile games kind of just continuing to be on phones. Because remember, phones back in the day, them little cheap flip phones couldn't do nothing. You couldn't do anything on those things. But now with these smartphones and these Android devices and stuff like that, now you're seeing more and more people. They'll have for people that have mobile phones, guaranteed they have at least 3 games or more on there. Guaranteed for the most part, especially ones that are not really avid. And a lot of them are not even avid gamers. They just like, mobile gaming, they could just do something real quick, kind of get it done and over with, because that's sometimes, they just need something to kind of get them through or be a time waster when you're sitting at the doctor's office or, whatever. And mobile gaming in an industry where there's a lot more, we're getting a lot more independent companies making games. And then with COVID right now, they can't exactly go to a building, so they're having to kind of daisy chain their way, through doing it at home. And
Yeah.
they're still able to get that product out there. And I think that's going to be very telling to see how 2020 will go, with the pandemic kind of slowing everything down.
Absolutely. And another thing too that was reported. This was as of June 24th. This is by the Game Haas staff. They were mentioning about the four gaming trends as far as when it comes to 2020. And the top four gaming trends that they've been utilizing is greater streaming is one of the big gaming trends. Subscription gaming, also console and desktop moving to mobile. And lastly is inclusivity in gaming as well. So as you can see, there's definitely a lot of different aspects when it comes to the gaming market as far as those particular trends. And more than likely, I could see a lot of those trends definitely going to be continuing. I say probably for the next, I'd say at least 3 to 4 years before there ends up being another kind of mass technology that comes out that's probably going to either bring some of that stuff together or possibly something that's actually going to trump what's currently trending at this particular time.
And that's a huge thing too, especially with streaming. I mean, with a lot of companies like Comcast and DirecTV and a lot of these other ones, they're starting to broaden their internet for people, because a lot of times certain games won't play unless you're on the internet. So having that access for, playing online, excuse me, for playing online is something that, I know for sure that Xfinity has really, really been deep diving into, getting more towers up so they can, especially within a city, they want to offer, that kind of that quick access to the gateway without having to use up. And a lot of people don't like using a lot of their data. So I think that helps address that issue as well. So when you can stream and, from a Wi-Fi hotspot or something like that, when you're on the go and you don't have to necessarily use your 4G or 5G or even 3G for that matter, having to waste your own data and then having your data go over and then having to mess around and pay extra for more data. I mean, that could be an avenue that I believe every state should look into.
Yeah, and I think definitely streaming, as far as game streaming, is definitely going to be, that's pretty much going to be the next ongoing thing going forward, especially now that we're getting into the 5G. Streaming is going to be faster than ever, which means a lot more mobile games are going to be utilizing these particular specs when it comes to that. Now, of course, there's been some controversy as far as concerning the 5G and everything else, but we'll save that for another topic. But yeah, with the fact that Wi-Fi is becoming a lot more powerful, phones are becoming more powerful, just in the overall realm when it comes to gaming themselves. I mean, soon, I'd say in the next probably 2-3 years, they're almost pretty much there, but you're going to see games running smoother on phones, and you're going to be getting like that PS4 quality on your mobile phone.
Yeah, because now on a lot of these mobile phones, you're getting like PS3 quality, if not slightly better. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I would definitely, because I know one of the things that have definitely died down has been is the VR for the phones. I noticed those really haven't been selling all that much. It seems most of the VR that we're hearing about nowadays are the ones that are contributed toward console, but not so much as far as for the mobile phones, because I know like you have the Samsung Gear and things of that nature. So I'm also wondering too, if going forward into the next year, if VR is going to be kind of that new dimension to step into when it comes to gaming all around. Is VR going to be more heavily utilized in the mobile games? I know with the Samsung Gear VR, you can watch some of the movies and stream movies and watch it, but it puts you in like an actual movie theater to where you're actually watching it as if you're in a theater, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to gaming and stuff like that, I haven't really seen anything as far as that's hit really hard when it comes to that. But I would definitely I'm curious to see what they intend on doing with mobile games as far as what's going to be the next big thing when it comes to mobile games as far as added technology to what we already have.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because with mobile gaming, and VR, it hasn't really took off the way they expected it to. But I think with this next generation of quote unquote phones that's coming out, like the Android devices and the iPhones and the Samsung HTC 10,000, whatever it's going to be. I think with those, when you start getting more of that higher quality grade of games, I think VR could make a comeback. But it's kind of, VR is still kind of in that it's a niche kind of thing. Like, not everybody is still like sold on having to get one, and that's kind of what I'm kind of hoping what PlayStation and Xbox are going to do, or PlayStation is going to do with the VR, with them now coming out with better streamline of games, like more like higher quality games. And I think that's going to turn the tide on that a little bit. But as far as mobile gaming goes, Xbox is already utilizing the potential of mobile gaming, which is they've made it accessible to play all of their current games on, just your mobile device by going through the Microsoft Game Pass. So with stuff like that going on, you can expect to see Sony following suit. Nintendo eventually will follow suit. We don't know about them yet, but I think when it comes to mobile gaming, now is the perfect time to capitalize, especially when you're in the industry, to capitalize on the potential of profitable growth and revenue that you could bring into your company by utilizing the ability to make everything mobile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Hence what we've been seeing with console games, mobile devices. And then Xbox is really utilizing it with their Game Pass. So I think with Game Pass, just the ability to play your favorite games on the, you can get a little controller your phone will just slide right into the controller and you can play it just like a normal game. I think that's completely ingenious. And this is a testament to what mobile gaming has become compared to what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely can't wait to see what comes out next as far as for mobile games. It's definitely going to be a worthwhile experience for a lot of us. I think we all definitely are going to have a real good treat, especially going into these future holiday seasons and things of that nature. I know there's going to be some excellent graphic titles that are going to be coming out. So it's definitely going to be a fun ride. I'm looking forward to it because I've been playing quite a few mobile games myself. One I will not mention because I know a lot of people like, you play that? No, I'll say it anyway. I'm playing, other than Brain Dream Girls Band Party, I'm also playing Raid Shadow Legends, which I'm sure some people is like, why? But it's all good. It's all good, man.
Well, anyway, what do you guys think of the whole mobile gaming experience? Do a lot of you like, playing mobile games as opposed to playing console games? Do you prefer mobile games over console games? Or do you feel, the great incline of games as far as mobile goes is really something to behold? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. So, all right, we're going to move on to our last segment. We are like just over an hour in. So we'll go ahead and get this last thing out the way, and that is check out some of the latest tweets that have been posted by game companies, developers, and publishers, and see what's happening in the now.
Absolutely. Now, there's been now some of the tweets that have come out so far. Some of you are probably have already heard, but for those of you who have not, let's see here. So, as far as for Fortnite, for those of you who are familiar with Blaze is going to be Blaze is back in the item shop right now. So if you guys want to get Blaze, Definitely a cool character to take advantage of. For those of you who are DC fans, as some of you already know, there is going to be a Suicide Squad game that's going to be coming out. And there's also a possibility that Superman is also going to be in this game. But I've also been hearing that Batman might also be too, but almost for certain it's going to be Superman. So right now, chances are the title probably won't be coming out until 2022. So basically, this was reported as of IGN. So we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled as far as for that. Let's see. We also have Hitman 3 now has a 12-month exclusive period from Epic Games. So if you guys are Hitman fans, definitely check that out. And given the fact that there's also going to be a new Hitman coming out, that's going to be awesome as well.
Mm-hmm. Now I have on here, well, as far as Xbox Game Pass, for any of you that are Final Fantasy fans, the original, I believe it's the original. It's either the original or the remake. I want to say it's the original, but Final Fantasy VII is now on Xbox Game Pass. If you are interested in playing that game, it is now available. If you already have a subscription with Xbox Game Pass, then this is a perfect time to, get yourself accoladed on a game that was originally only on PlayStation. You can now be able to play on Xbox. Excuse me. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Absolutely. So that's definitely something to behold indefinitely. Checking out the latest stuff on. Also, there's been some stuff going on as far as for Godfall. So for those of you who are not familiar, Godfall is going to be a loot melee game. This game is gonna be super good. I mentioned this before on I believe on Facebook, and I also mentioned this on Instagram. But for those of you who are brand new to us, just to give you a heads up as far as what Godfall is about. So basically, Godfall has you can choose your character. There are different character types, in which case, basically, the game is going to absolutely utilize no microtransactions. Everything in this game is going to be loaded in right from the start. It's also going to be you have to be very strategic when it comes to that. There's different kinds of special arts that you can unlock. And literally everything that you earn and unlock in the game is only unlocked through gameplay. So that's going to be another thing too that I really like as far as for that. There's going to be multiple weapons. Again, there's going to be different classes. One of those classes is a dual wielder. So that's definitely going to be really, really good to take on. If any of you happen to want to learn more about Godfall, you can check out Godfall on their Instagram page. They have one dedicated to that game specifically. They also have a little bit of a gaming sideshow as far as showing you some of the highlights of that game. But it's definitely going to be worth checking out. What else we got here?
I've got something from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
It says time to pull out all the stops. It's the last day of the Mario Kart North American Open, August 2020. So I think what they're doing is and there's a tournament. There is a tournament ID. So if you go to Nintendo Versus, with them, you can get the tournament ID and you can enter in a Mario Kart tournament, which that's actually kind of interesting. This was posted 6 days ago, so it's still open. I believe it's supposed to go from noon to 6 p.m. On each day, and the places, there's 8 places, and the top winner, I believe, gets 2,500 gold points. So there you go.
Nice. So if you guys are good at Mario Kart, I can't play Mario Kart for the life of me. I used to be decent, but
I'm all right on Mario Kart. I haven't played it in a while, but I'm all right.
We also have a tweet from Activision revolving around Call of Duty Mobile Season 9 Conquest. It looks like you're going to be able to customize your armaments with a new gunsmith feature that experienced shipment and 1944. So you can explore an expanded BR map and a lot more. So if you guys want to learn more about that, just check out Activision and get all the latest information when it comes to Call of Duty Mobile.
All right. Well, I'm sure there's a few more in here, but I'm hungry and we're over an hour. So I think we got a nice amount of stuff that was we sent out to people. We'll keep you guys updated on anything else that goes on, but I do want to say thank you all very, very much for joining us here on Platform Gamer Podcast. To correct my brother earlier, this is actually episode 2. Let me get my fingers
That's
up.
right.
There
Oh, yeah.
2, because I had to do the first one by myself. So
that's right.
But yeah, I want to take this time and just basically say thank you to everybody that checked us out. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Damar, anything else you want to plug in here?
Pretty much like Desmond said earlier, thank you guys again for joining us. We're definitely going to be bringing you even more content. We're going to try to later on down the line try to be a little bit more interactive. Maybe even who knows? Maybe we'll be able to take some calls or something like that. But we're definitely going to be, getting our gears going as far as for how we can make this podcast even better, but also bring better content to you guys and different ways that we can share and express our thoughts and opinions on some of the latest gaming news and information as they are released.
All right. So, yeah, this has been great. This is much better than me trying to do it by myself. At least I now have something, someone to play off of here. Eventually we're looking at getting hopefully some special guests on here, some of our close friends that, are gamers as well. And hopefully we can eventually one day get somebody from the industry on here. So that would be pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. But again, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn that bell for our notifications. Smash that like button and leave us a comment. Also, for checking up on anything that we post, latest news-wise, you can check us out on Facebook.com/Platform Gamer Podcast, where you can get all the latest and greatest information that we could throw at you. So you can always go there and make sure you send us a tweet, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Platform Gamer P1. But thank you guys once again. You guys take care, and we will see you later.
Peace.
Maybe.